Are you a professional pillow fighter? Or a 9-to-5 low-cost time travel agent? Or maybe real estate sales on Mars is your profession? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is you do, however complex or intricate, Monday.com can help you organize, orchestrate, and make it more efficient. Monday.com is the one centralized platform for everything work-related. And with Monday.com, work is just easier. Monday.com, for whatever you run. Go to Monday.com to learn more.
Auf mein Kopf. Hinter via Deckern muss es die kleine Fahrt beim Top. Geht mir kein Sach nicht, die Rock.
Hey everyone, welcome to Kill Me Now with Judy Gold. I am your host, Judy Gold, and this week I am thrilled. Beyond thrilled that I got to interview the one and only Sharon Gless. You might know her from Cagney and Lacey, Queer as Folk. She is an icon. What a life she's had. So I hope you enjoy. And also, FYI, for your information, I want you to know that I'm going to be coming to a comedy club near you, March 10th at City Winery. And I'll be in New Hope the weekend of the 12th and 13th. That's in Pennsylvania. So I'll talk more about it at the end, but please enjoy my interview with the one and only Sharon Gless. I just want to say, you know, I've been doing this podcast since 2015, and there are a few guests who have blown my mind that I have them as guests. Dick Cavett. I mean, just like iconic. Wow. Yes, I've had icons. But Sharon, you know how someone is such a part of your life and you don't even know them? I mean, I met you after you had an impact on my life. And you're like, I mean, reading this book, I just wanted to text you and say, oh, your fucking life. Oh my God. It's unfucking believable. So ladies and gentlemen, and they, thems, and whatevers, my guest today and next week is the one, the only, Sharon Gless. Woo!
Oh my God. This is the best.
Sharon.
Thank you, Judy Gold.
You, first of all, get this book. It's called Apparently There Were Complaints. It is a memoir by the one and only Sharon Gless. Just get it for the blurbs on the back, because they're fucking hilarious. Wait, let me just read one.
You're missing on the back. You should be on the back.
All right, well, you know what? Randy Rainbow was asked, but Judy Gold wasn't.
I'm sorry. True.
Randy Rainbow was hilarious. I so admire Sharon's unrelenting courage. Imagine having the nerve to think that anyone would want to read this. I mean, anyone who asks for blurbs that are hilarious, you know that they are so fucking secure and they know who they are and are so comfortable with themselves. First of all, having met you and hung out with you, I had no idea about your childhood, which is fascinating. I mean,
you know, when you live it, it's not as fascinating to you, but thank you for saying that.
Oh my God. You have to get this book. But I'll keep saying that. Your grandparents played a huge role.
Yes.
In not only, you know, your upbringing and decisions that were made on your behalf, but reading this, they had such a profound effect on who you are and your values and,
yes,
you know, the stuff that you saw and experienced. You know, you think, oh, look at this privileged, beautiful young woman, and you have no fucking clue. So your grandfather.
That's why I refer to myself as the poor relative. Because They had money and raised me as if I did, and I didn't.
Right.
At all.
So your grandfather, Neil McCarthy,
right,
was the Hollywood lawyer. Like, and we're talking during the heyday, like
right,
Cecil B. DeMille, like
Howard Hughes.
He was royalty. Like, I don't even know who we would compare him to for the young listeners.
I don't know. There was that wonderful and he used to do trial work, and he was always on talk shows. Damn if I can't remember his name. Carson used to have him on all the time, and he was a famous trial lawyer. And he said they don't have trial lawyers anymore like Neil S. McCarthy.
It's
They just don't exist. And I've always said the best actors in our country are good trial attorneys. They're in performance all the time.
Oh, I think some of the best comedians are ex-lawyers because they read into everything,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They were strict. They were my grandmother particularly.
Oh my God, your grandmother. Whoa. So
Yeah.
they had this marriage, a lot of philandering going on, and
Oh
you
my
not
God,
knowing.
That's right.
So
Yes,
you're
it's true.
yes, and
Generations of it.
right. But the one side of your family is this attorney, and then the other side, they owned land. They owned Los Feliz, correct? A lot of the land.
Yes. They owned Encino, California. They owned Los Feliz. They owned downtown. I can't remember. There's just a lot of Southern California that they owned. They were Basque sheep herders.
Right.
So I'm actually part sheep.
Really?
Yes.
You look good. I mean, you can
In my book, I swear to God, I took a pic. I didn't take one. I found a picture in the family archives of our sheep.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm going to put it in as my family. And I find it amusing. But there's one sheep that's looking right at the lens. Exactly right at the lens.
In
the photo of the sheep, there's one sheep
that's just staring
directly at the lens. Yeah.
That's the reincarnation of someone.
Right.
Or
And with all that land and all of that, that and a dime will get you not even a cup of coffee.
Right. All right. So your grandfather was this, gigantic figure, and your grandmother was beyond strict, like so fucking hard on you about everything about you, about the way you spoke, the way you
tremendous
looked.
impact on me. I don't think I've known it all my life, but when I started to write the book is when I had to address it, and talk about her power over me. And it sounds like I'm complaining. There's a part of me that thanks her every day.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, for what she put me through. But I'm a result of it, and take it or leave it.
Oh, you're the best.
Here we are. I mean,
So your father's this huge figure, and your parents are married, and there was this idea that because they owned all this land that they were wealthy, and they weren't. So
on my father's side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they weren't.
Dennis, your father Dennis, and your mother
Right.
Marjorie were married. Now, your mother Marjorie was the product of your grandmother, who was
the grand dame.
I mean, when you read the book, I was scared. I mean, I was scared of her.
Sort of see Helen Hayes playing her. And
and
you remember the movie Anastasia?
Yes.
Well, there's that recognition scene between, let's say, Ingrid Bergman and the grandmother. That was my grandmother.
Oh, the tension when you're reading it, oh, I hope she doesn't find that out. Fuck, it's. So they had this beautiful house on Muirfield. Is it Muirfield?
Muirfield Road, right?
Yeah.
Hancock Park.
That was where so many huge things occurred. And you lived there for a while.
I lived there all of my life.
Right.
Until they sold, till I was like 17.
Right.
And I tried to buy it.
You did
I
not.
tried to buy it back, Judy. We shot a Cagney and Lacey in it.
No, you did not.
Swear to God. And when I walked on the set that morning, the crew was so quiet and so respectful. They knew that it was my family's home and where I'd been raised all my life. And I tried to buy it from the owner. And we have a little time, so can I tell you?
Oh, because we're going to get to the other part of the. There's another time you go to the house when you don't own it. That is fascinating.
Right. That's when I shot Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, we shot Cagney and Lacey when I didn't own it. We
But
sold it.
didn't someone buy it and then you had to go to a wedding there?
Oh, yes. The people who bought it from my family were my best friend at the time, Susan. And I ended up going to her wedding in that house. And my grandmother was invited. My mother was invited. So you'll see, and in the book, there are 3 generations.
That's such a sad story. It's such a that really
generations of women were affected by this.
Yeah. Okay. So your grandfather, you live in this huge house, and you would think, like, I just read this article. I don't know if you saw this article about what's his name, Tom Hanks's son, saying I didn't have a male role model growing up. And everyone thought I had everything. And I was so, because we're rich and my father's famous, everyone thought everything was great. And they didn't realize, I was missing something. And it made me think of you.
I need, I need to be clear. I know how fortunate I was.
Right.
Believe me, I don't have complaints necessarily about them. They had complaints about me.
Right.
That's what my book is. It's all the people who've had complaints about me.
And it's like everything you do, you can't get a break.
That's the truth.
And you were sort of surrounded, which is kind of Jewy, but it's very Irish, by depressed people who were really unhappy deep down inside and not expressing it.
I would say so. There's a strain of depression throughout the family.
Right.
Mainly on my father's side.
Right. And Marjorie.
Yeah. Hers was demonstrated differently.
Yeah.
Because she was in her defense, I have to say, she was the most wonderful woman, the most wonderful mother. That's all she wanted to do was be a mom.
Was to be a mother. Yeah.
And she couldn't stick up for me against my grandmother.
Right. Ugh. I would have been so fucking scared of her. Your mother wanted so many kids and had so many miscarriages and lost babies.
2 after birth, right?
Right. And that sort of permeated through your house. And it was as if, and you're even named, your middle name is your sister who died, right?
Well, my sister was named after my grandmother.
Right.
And so then when I came along, her name was Marguerite.
Right.
My grandmother's name. And then when I was born, I became Sharon Marguerite.
Can you tell the story of how you got the name Sharon?
Oh, yeah. You have read my book. All right. Good on you, Judy.
Please.
I was named after a tea leaf reader. I mean, I was named by a tea leaf reader. My mother was in this play. She was very active in charitable things. And they had this children's theater where she used to perform. And the women, after the performance, would go to this tea room. And there was a woman there who read tea leaves just for amusement. And she said to my mother, you're producing something special. What are you doing? Right. This is in the 40s, right? My mother said, well, I'm pregnant. She said, well, I think this could be a very unusual child. She said, after the child is born, here's my phone number. Would you call me? I'd like to name this child. Well, my mother is so conservative. I can't even believe my mother had this conversation. She called her. And in my baby book, I found the envelope that my mother had written the names.
No way.
Yes. And one of them was Sharon in the circle.
Do you remember the other 2?
There were more than 2 others. The other 2 I can remember now is Hillary.
Yes.
And Karen.
Yeah. No, thank God she didn't pick Karen.
No.
I mean, that would have been.
There were.
You're so not a Karen.
No, I'm not.
I mean, Jack Bauer.
Yeah, he was head of casting.
Right.
Most of the studios.
And you were surrounded by this, but never thought about becoming an actress. And then you see this classmate of yours, Billy Chapin.
That's right. Billy Chapin. Do you remember? You're too young to know Father Knows Best.
Are you kidding? I loved Father Knows Best. I used to watch reruns when I got home from school. I love Father Knows Best.
Well, the daughter, the young one.
Yes.
They called Kitten.
Yes.
That's Lauren Chapin. And that's Billy Chapin's younger sister.
No way. And she was she was the precocious one.
Yes.
On
she was.
Father Knows Best. Yeah.
She was they called her kitten.
Yes.
I called her recently. I
No
called
way.
her for the book. I called her for the book came out. I've never met her. And I introduced myself, and she was very nice, knew who I was. And
Right.
I said, I wrote about Billy in my book. Well, she's considerably younger than I. But I told her I wrote about her brother, and her brother's gone now.
Oh.
But I said, Billy was huge in my life that he became an actor. And there he was on the motion picture screen. And the Kid from Left Field was the name of the movie he was in. He played the kid. I thought, that's Billy Chapin. If he can be on that screen, so can I. Sometimes you just need an example of what your dream is. Sometimes you just need to see there are possibilities.
It's amazing the way you write about, you're watching this movie and you're like, wait, I know him. I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
My classmate, Billy. If Billy can do it, I can do it.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with a Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Now, you were very criticized. Your grandfather said you walk like a duck, which was that was a horrible story.
Oh, that's okay. Honest to God. The truth is, Judy, I think I say it in my book. I was I guess I did walk like a duck, but I was so flattered that he noticed anything.
I know that's right. You were like, oh my God, he said something about me.
Noticed me. Yeah.
Your mother had all these miscarriages. She was, but was a completely loving parent. Your parents divorced while you were sent away to boarding school. Now, just so everyone knows who's listening, you didn't know you were going to go to boarding school. Your grandmother had planned this whole thing out, and she knew that your parents were divorcing, correct?
Well, yes. The truth is, I had asked to go to boarding school.
Right.
I thought I had a crush on my teacher, my English teacher at junior high, and she'd gone to boarding school. So my mother saw me crying in my room. She said, darling, what's wrong? I said, I want to go to boarding school like Miss Moore. Well, always the answer is no, or I'll think about it. And this time she said, let me talk to your grandmother. And it just landed because my parents were going to get divorced. I didn't know it. And that was the perfect thing, is tuck Sharon away.
Right.
So the day that my father left the house, I was put on a train.
You have an older brother, Michael.
Wonderful, yeah.
And Eric, who's your younger brother. And you and Michael were very close in age. And Eric was much younger because your mother kept trying and trying. And then she really wanted, you and Michael tortured Eric. And
isn't that what older brothers are supposed to do?
But that story of you, can you tell the story of going, like taking Eric and...
Oh, God, that was so awful. It says something about me because my mother said, you may not remove Eric from the nursery. Do not bring him downstairs to show him off. Oh, okay, Mommy, I won't. Well, of course, as soon as she's out of the house, there's someone downstairs. I pick Eric up. It's Arik, actually, A-R-I-C. And I carried him down a flight of 20 stairs, and on the 5th stair, it's like it was yesterday, I fell with him in my arms. But I held him fast. I knew enough at 7 years old to hold him tight, so I took the hit. I did never let him go until I'd hit the bottom.
And you never told anyone. And never. Have you told him?
I don't. Well, he's read the book. So
well, now he knows,
now.
But I didn't know if you had, when he got older and said, I dropped you on your head. And
I may have told him. It was a very, very frightening thing. I was a bad girl. My mother wanted children to be near in age, so they had people to play with. She didn't believe in only children. And so she had Eric 7 years after Michael, finally, after me.
Right.
Finally, then Eric came 7 years later, a baby that survived. And then she got pregnant again after Eric. And that baby delivered and died also.
Oh, your poor mother.
Well, I was doing some research,
Yeah.
and it's not her fault. It's just the way it was. In the 40s, it was recommended that pregnant women smoke and drinks to relax themselves. So my mother smoked and drank through all of our pregnancies.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that in the book, but it's so interesting that they, the way, I mean, you go from your childhood and you talk about your mother and that women were considered hysterical and told to smoke and calm their nerves. And then you become this feminist icon when you get into Cagney and Lacey, but your life is just fascinating.
Thank you.
You became overweight. You had a weight issue.
Still do.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I know.
I did a show. I was doing a series yesterday, and you are so lucky that you're not doing a series now where everyone is vegan or on a plant diet. It's so fucking annoying.
My God.
They weigh a pound. Everything is like everything. I like craft services. Oh, we have the vegan. No, I don't want vegan. I want a fucking burger. I want French fries. I'm not ever going to be as skinny as you. Like they're going to live to 150 with shitting 24 hours a day. All these people.
I want to do another series. I have another one in me.
I bet.
But
you're going to hate craft services. Yeah.
I don't think it's demanded of someone my age that I be real thin. I mean, women look like I do.
Right.
It's what we look like.
Well, now we have streaming services that show real people. So your grandfather told you, because you had gotten a little chunky, and you were going to be, what is it called when you become when you're presented as a debutante, or what is that?
Debutante. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you had gained all this weight.
In boarding school.
Yeah. You went to boarding school. You were depressed. You learned so much stuff went on in boarding school in like, as far as gaining this weight and you developing this coping mechanism.
Yeah.
That to me.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. What's interesting? My boarding school friends, just recently, we've started a Zoom thing. We graduated in 1961. So now we're doing this Zoom thing, and they have read my book.
Right.
And they said, Sharon, we never knew. We had no idea what emotionally, how you hid. Because I was, million laughs.
Right.
And they read the thing about where I would go inside.
Yeah. Can you, do you not want to talk about that?
Sure.
So
I've been in therapy for years, and every therapist says, Sharon, don't do that. I said,
it's an amazing, when you describe it for the first time, it's incredible. Like, how does a human being just decide, like the first time it happens, you said, I went dead. I just stopped. I
know it's therapists, it makes them crazy. They hate it. But it was a gift at the time. I was so upset, and I caught writing, it was during the Asian flu, which is similar to our now flu. And I was in the boarding school. We were not allowed to, we had to take naps. We were teenagers.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Letters. I know. And I got busted. I got caught. I was writing my mother a letter about the divorce.
Right.
And that I was missing her, and we weren't getting along anymore. And I was just sobbing, pouring out all my feelings.
Right.
A 14-year-old, who's raw? Who's more raw than a 14? And I got caught. And I was told I was going to be brought up in front of the student body. And I just sat, they took my stationery away, took my letters away. And I sat there on my bed and I sobbed, and I couldn't stop. Something, I think it was a miracle came over me, and my heart stopped hurting. It's just like I went dead. I knew it had happened, but it wasn't a bad thing. And I was able to walk around school, go to dinner that night, converse with everybody, crack the jokes, knowing I was dead inside and no one could touch me.
And you use that, you repeat it a few times in the book that I know I have that. I know I have that to go to. It's sort of like a safe place. It's like compartmentalizing.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't realize that I was able to do it. Again, therapists say, Christ, don't do that.
Right.
But it worked for me. It saved my life.
Right. I love that you got in trouble for writing your mother a letter, and it's so fucking stupid. You gained this weight. Can you please tell the story about your grandfather bribing you?
Oh, well, I'm sure my grandmother went to him. They were separated, but weight.
That's so interesting about that. Your grandmother didn't want to divorce him because he had said to her, you wrote
he wanted a divorce.
Yeah, he wanted a divorce, but he had said something earlier in their relationship.
Well, he was a big lawyer. He was a fancy lawyer, and he used to tell her that he would advise, and he had very fancy clients. He said, I always advise the wife don't give a divorce because you will end up as the ex Mrs. So-and-so, you'll end up with nothing. So and in those days you couldn't contest a divorce.
Right. Yeah.
So she had the right to say, no, I'm not giving you a divorce. He said, why not? And she said, because I'd be much better off as the present Mrs. McCarthy than I would as the ex. He said, who told you that? She said, the finest lawyer I know. She said, and that would be, she said, you. So she never gave him the divorce.
Smart woman.
I think she was always in love with him, I think.
You say that. You say
he
that.
Asked her back. He asked her back years later.
And?
I said, Grimmy, are you going? She said, your grandfather asked me to come back.
Yeah.
I said, are you going to go? She said, no, I'm too old. I said, Neil, I'm too old. Stop it.
See? They know who their soulmates are.
Really?
All right. So can you tell the story of them? So you're going to be presented, but you've gained all this weight. You still were beautiful. Even in boarding school, when you have your hair back and your face is, I didn't even, first of all, that is not fat today. You know what I mean? Like you were still adorable.
175 pounds was tilting the scale when you were a young teenager.
Can you tell the story of your grandfather bribing you, please?
Yes, I think my grandmother went to him. Said,
right.
I can't do anything with her, and you've got to get this weight off of her. Can you think of anything? He said, sure. So I guess I had lunch with him one day, and we weren't really close. But he said, I have an offer. I said, what is it, Grandpa? He said, if you lose 20 pounds, I will take you to lunch with Cary Grant. Did he say that? I don't remember what I said back. I'm sure I said something like, oh, that'd be so wonderful. Thank you, Grandpa. I knew instantly I couldn't do that because he'd tell Mr. Grant that I had lost 20 pounds just so I could meet him. It's so embarrassing that I never lost the weight.
It's awful.
I want Cary Grant to know that I'd lost. Yeah.
When I was 16, I was kind of chunky, and my grandmother got me for my 16th birthday this book entitled The Woman Doctor's Diet for Teenage Girls. That was my birthday present.
Are you kidding? That was your 16th?
Yes, The Woman Doctor's Diet for Teenage Girls.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. They're all fucking mental.
That explains a lot.
Yes, exactly. And gigantic. Your uncle was head of Paramount.
No. He was head of casting.
Casting.
Of casting at most of the major studios before he died.
Right.
Yeah. But he didn't believe in nepotism, so he didn't encourage me to become an actress. And my grandfather called it a filthy business to stay out of it, so there wasn't a lot of it.
Your grandmother, can you tell the Mars bars story? With the metronome?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Oh, because I have other Mars bar stories that I didn't.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay.
but it's not worth it. Yeah, my grandmother locked me up in her house in Carmel my first year of college because I was going to have to be making my debuts. And she said, I'll be damned if you're going to walk out there looking like Moby Dick. We have
so pleasant. I
know. So she locked me up, and I I guess I must have borrowed a quarter because I didn't have any money of my own because my grandmother would give me money, but I had to give her a receipt to make sure I didn't take a nickel out for Mars bar. Well, somebody must have loaned me a quarter because I had 5 Mars bars. And I ate them one night sitting at her dining room table after she'd gone to bed and must have put the wrappers in my bathrobe. And the next day I came home and I always went to, in those days, we called it a stereo. I went to the stereo to put on Elvis. And there was a Mars bar wrapper on the screen.
Fuck.
I'm so screwed. Okay, so then I went into my bedroom. There's another Mars bar wrapper stuck to the pillow. I went into the bathroom. There's a Mars bar wrapper stuck on the mirror. I went into the kitchen. There's a Mars bar wrapper stuck on the fridge door. Anyway, I was so busted, and I thought she was going to give up on me. And she gave me one more try, and she took 40 pounds off of me.
She made you chew to a metronome.
I had to chew to a metronome and eat with chopsticks.
Don't you think that's a little abusive?
Well, I don't know. I'm so good at chopsticks now, honey. I could race through and eat a meal so fast.
That's hilarious. This week's episode of It's Judy Show with Judy Gold is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you know me, which I think you do because you're listening to my podcast right now, you know that I am a big advocate for therapy. I think it benefits everyone. I think there's so many people who need it, who don't partake. It is so important for your emotional health and well-being. Therapy is fantastic. It is in every stretch of the imagination. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, please do it. But please give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It suits your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I have switched therapists in my life. I've had many, many therapists, and sometimes it's not a great fit for you, but don't give up. Therapy is beneficial. You can learn about yourself. You can process and just be emotionally healthy. I'm telling you, do it. BetterHelp is great because, when I used to schlep to my therapist's office, it was so annoying. You have to do it and you sit there and you wait. And then I'm telling you, doing it online is fantastic. And BetterHelp is amazing. I know a lot of people who've used it. So if you're thinking about therapy, go to BetterHelp.com. Let the gratitude flow. This is Gratitude Month, people. So you need to let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JudyGold, JudyGold, today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome. There was also a great story of you in boarding school, and your father never showed up for anything. Your mother really was, she was everything, and there was a father-daughter thing, and and they had warned you, you want your father to come, but you'll see what
3 years, and he'd never been invited. And my junior year, my grandma said, fine, let him come. He won't last the weekend. She'll find out. She'll figure
out what an asshole he is.
Right. So I invited him, and that Saturday night when we were doing our big performance for the fathers, I couldn't find him anywhere. I went to every restroom on the campus. I went everywhere, and I couldn't find him. And I thought he left. So I went back in the theater, sat in the back and cried. And out sweeps my father in a Zorro outfit, speaking fluent Spanish. He's a very handsome man. And they'd had Zorro pictures all over the campus that Zorro was coming. And there he was, just the epitome of
completely surprised you.
Knowing everybody.
And he was charming. He was, you talk about him that he'd walk in a room and he was just handsome but a shitty husband.
Yes.
and a non-present father.
Pretty much. I mean, he was more present in Michael's and my life. He wasn't present at all in ours.
Right. Sad.
But yeah. But I do believe I don't tell these stories out of being a victim.
It doesn't come off like that at all. But it just, I am fascinated with people's childhoods. And
right. I loved him dearly.
Yeah, you can tell.
But he just was a lousy husband. You know, my mother's heart was just broken.
But your grandfather was a lousy husband too.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right. Yeah, it's true. The role models for marriages are not keen in my life.
You go to this boarding school, you are friends with the Folger heir.
Right. She was one of my roommates.
Yes.
Folger.
The Folger coffee heiress, who you said was extremely smart and artistic and just
smartest girl in our class.
Yeah.
Graduated summa cum laude.
You loved her. And
yes, it's funny. We did care about each other because we were thrown together and we were so different.
And you were thrown to, they put
well-rounded.
Right. But they put you together because both of your parents were getting divorced and they thought, she'll be a good roommate for her. Yeah.
At the same time. And she surmised that's probably why they put us together, because we were so not alike.
Right.
And she said, I think it's because we're both going through divorce. Our parents were divorced. And that was Gibby. She was an amazing, amazing young woman. Graduated summa cum laude, was a classical pianist. And this is in high school.
Right.
An amazing, amazing young woman.
And she was killed by Charles Manson. It's so sad. You lost your virginity.
Didn't we all?
I love Elisa, you know my lover, Elisa. That's my Jubel, by the way. My love for Elisa. All she said, boy, Sharon Gless she has more sex than we do. Okay. I can't believe it. I mean, you got to read the book just for the sex. Yeah, she loves the book.
Thank you.
So I love the fact that you're dating this guy, Philip, and the reason you lose your virginity to him is because he's funny. Like, that is the greatest.
Yeah, I think funny is so sexy.
Which is why you've been attracted to me for so long.
That's it, Judy. Now it's out there in public. That's the truth. I think funny is very sexy.
That made me so happy. You're like, you know what? It was time.
On a roll-away bed. On a roll-away bed. In an art gallery.
And you said he had a nose like Carl Malden.
Mm-hmm.
Attractive.
Yeah, he wasn't really handsome, but he was so funny and kind and witty and
that is so great. I love that about you. Like, you grew up around all this fakeness because there's not a lot of no one's from LA. Like, you're from LA and you're not only from LA, you're from like Hollywood elite LA. Like it's amazing. And you're like so down to earth. I can't.
I think I give that. I had an extraordinary mother. An extraordinary mother who kept tabs on inner beauty is what was important to her.
And she was independent in her own way too. I feel like in
her own way, she finally rose up and defended against all of them.
Yeah, I love that.
It was hard for her because she was financially dependent on her parents, but she rose up and really saved my life.
She really did sacrifice everything for her children.
Our situation wasn't dire.
No. I'm just saying she remained, dependent because
she gave up, but she gave up a lot of herself.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Pour it into us.
Right. And, when you talk about how you had a credit card in the 60s, when women, it's just people don't understand. Like, these young women don't understand. That wasn't that long ago. Women couldn't have mortgages. Women couldn't have their own credit cards. Like, flight attendants had to be a certain weight. They couldn't be pregnant. Like, it wasn't that long ago.
I had a friend from college who became a flight attendant. came down to LA, and they used to measure her calf every week.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Swear to God. They'd measure her calf every week, and if the calf was not the right dimension, she didn't get to work.
Ugh.
That's what flight attendants used to go through.
Right. Hashtag me fucking too. Okay? Cubed. You went to Gonzaga. You went to Washington, Spokane, Washington, where you had an affair.
Jesuit University.
A Jesuit university, where you're sitting and this law student comes over to you and you have an affair.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm not proud of that.
Oh, please. It was his fault.
That's right.
He's the one that came over to you.
I never blame, I do take on responsibility.
Right. Well, no, that wasn't your fault. And you'd have these parties at a hotel. This is the fucking fun. Can you talk about, you'd have these parties.
Yes. I just talked to my friend Sherry Orr. Her name is Sherry Orr. I just talked to her on the phone. Now, since the books come out,
people are coming out of the woodwork. Yeah.
And Sherry and I, it was a Jesuit university. They were so hard on the women. We had to be in at midnight every Friday and Saturday night. Well, come on. So Sherry came up with this great idea that we rent a motel room and we have kegers, and the guys would bring big kegs of beer, and we'd have these great parties. Sort of leave the door open. I mean, no, in those days, nobody was openly screwing around.
Right.
And it was a Catholic university. And we did this all year long. And one night, my mother called.
Well, you had to leave it. Didn't you have to leave the name of someone?
If you went away for the weekend, the women had to leave the name and number where you were staying.
And the guy students did not have to leave anything. They could leave.
I don't know what the guy students had to do. I was in the women's dorm,
right?
But we did.
God, I
would
my mother
called to tell me about a job
dorm.
I wanted.
Yeah,
summer, a counselor's job in the East Coast for California Coast. And they said she's not here. My mother said, "Well, I have some good news for her. May I have the number?" And so she called the number that the school gave her, and the man who has the phone said, "I've never heard of your daughter," and hung up the phone. Well, now as an adult, I can't be angry at her. She was obviously concerned.
Right.
The school back has never heard of my daughter. So by the time Sherry and I walked in the dorm that Sunday night, that weekend, their arms were crossed, and we were suspended 2 weeks before finals.
It's crazy. You got in so much fucking trouble and never thought you were going to get caught. And you always got caught.
How stupid is that?
I know. It's
you gotta
funny.
Be positive, Judy. You got to be positive.
Yeah. Well, you were. Your best friend. So they sell this. We talked about this earlier, that they sold the Muirfield. Is it Muirfield?
Muirfield Road.
Yeah. They sell this house that was your grandfather's, and your
Howard Hughes lived right down the street.
Did you ever go over his house?
No, I never met him because it was a generation before me. My grandparents built the house and raised their children in it, and that's when Mr. Hughes lived down there. But my mom saw him all the time. Said he'd always refer to the children as the brats.
Oh, that's so sweet.
He'd refer to my mother and her siblings as the brats.
That's so sweet. What a great
guy.
My
mom said that my grandmother would send her into the living room to go and sit with Mr. Hughes while Mr. Hughes waited for Grandpa. So my mother would have to sit there and, her hands in her lap and entertain Mr. Hughes.
That's terrible. Ugh. Your best friend, your best friend's family buys the house, and she then gets married, as we had mentioned earlier. And you're all invited to this house that
my grandmother had built.
Right. It's the way you describe it, like every inch of that house was your grandmother.
She built it. She designed it and built it.
And you walk in and she's there and your mother's there. And you said something that you thought that they bought it not for in a spiteful way. Did you think that?
No. My best friend who used to come and spend the night with me every weekend, at that house. Got a crush on my brother. She got older
Right.
and even found the heart with their initials on it under a staircase later. Her parents, when my grandmother was selling it, her parents wanted the house and they
Right.
bought it. All the people in the world, they bought it. And I was the maid of honor at her wedding. And there I was. My mother had her own wedding in that house. She'd raised her children in
Right.
that house. My grandmother had built the house, got divorced in that house. My mother got divorced in that house. I'm like now 20 and so
Right.
unhappy. And there are the 3 generations standing there in that house.
While someone else is getting married. And I bet you thought, oh, it should be me. It should be me who's getting.
No, I never really wanted to
Really?
get married. I thought, gee, and now I'm losing my best friend.
Right.
And here we are, the 3 generations of women who formed this house.
Right. That was an emotional chapter. You get a job. Your mother wants you to leave LA.
I wanted to leave Carmel.
Right.
My mother would not let me come back to LA. Now you have to understand, I've been thrown out of college. I'm 20 years old, but I'm emotionally 15.
Right.
I'd never really grown up. And I wanted to leave. And my mother kept saying, your grandmother will have a heart attack. You can't leave. You have to stay here in Carmel. My grandmother did. And get a job. And one day, do you want me to tell this story?
I love this.
Home?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the time my mother rose up, and she came home. She went to mass every morning at the mission. She came home one morning and she said, Sharon, I want you to pack your trunk. I'd already been thrown out of college. I want you to pack your trunk and think of where you want to go. You have 2 hours in which to do it. I said, what did I do? She said, you've done nothing, darling. Just do what I say, please. I want you to pack your trunk and choose where you want to go. I'll get you to the Greyhound station, because my grandmother was coming in on the train. She needed to get me out of town where my grandmother was in Carmel.
Right.
And she pulled it off. And she sat there in the living room, never speaking to me, pretending to read a book. The pages never turned. And I packed and I was crying, thinking, what did I do wrong? And yet this is what I said I wanted, but now I'm frightened. And my mom had no money of her own because it was all my grandparents. So she went to the neighbor across the street and borrowed $200 in cash and gave it to me. She said, this is all I have. I suggest you stay at the Y, the city, wherever city it is you decide to go. And I did. And I got on a Greyhound bus. She made sure that my bus had left before she told my grandmother what she'd done.
And that was the biggest gift she ever gave you.
Biggest gift,
And she trusted you.
I think it came to a point where she had to force me to grow up.
Right.
And the only way she could do it is by cutting those apron strings.
Right.
Even though I was 20 going on 15.
I know, but for a mother to do that, that is like, most mothers don't want to cut them. You know what I mean? And it was sort of like she was saying, you don't end up not fulfilling your dreams. Like, you need to go figure this shit out.
Well, she'd gone apparently to our child doctor in Carmel.
Right.
He said, Mark, saying that she's having migraines and she's just immobile and I don't know what to do anymore. And the doctor said, Marjorie, you've got to cut these strings.
Yeah.
Force her to go. And so I did. I did what she said, and it changed my entire life.
I love her for that. And then you go to the Y.
I asked her, and it's in the book, but it's a nice footnote. I asked her years later, I said, Mom, what did Grimmy say when you told her what she'd done? And she said nothing. What could she say? And then my mother said, I had to do it.
I love that. I love that. It gave you your independence. And then you met your first Leslie at the Y.
I did. I did. I was talking to my brother on the payphone, and I'd been there almost a year. And I decided I wanted to come home, and I wasn't having any communication with anybody. And this girl who I'd become friends with, in the Y, got in the payphone with me in the booth. And I'm talking to my brother. She opens up the glass door and she was so sweet. She said, I'm in love with you. I said, I gotta get back to you on the phone. I didn't know what to say,
and she smashed her face against the door.
That face. And I went back to Los Angeles. But that was, by the way, the one city I was not allowed to go to
was Seattle or Los Angeles. Well, they didn't want you to go to Washington. Yeah.
No, they didn't want me to go to Spokane because that's where the married guy.
Because that's where the married guy was.
Right.
You go.
And they didn't want me in Los Angeles because that's where my father was.
Right. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of Kill Me Now with the incredible Sharon Gless. Kill Me Now is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling. This podcast, nor any part of my life, it would not be possible without the help of Brittany Jo Sowards. If you are not a subscriber to the show, then please die. No, you don't have to die, but just fucking subscribe and leave a review, 5 stars, please. It helps me, it helps you, it helps the world. Also, I am going to be traveling. I'm going to be doing some gigs in your area, I think. I mean, who the hell knows where you are? But I love you for listening to all the way to the end because it's just, it makes me feel important. But just so you know, I will be on March 2nd. I will be at the Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. I'm doing an hour at 7 p.m. City Winery, March 10th, New York City. It is going to be a great show. March 12th and 13th, I will be in New Hope at the Raz Room. I'm going to Florida, March 26th. I've got a lot of shit going on. So check out my website, judygold.com, for all of my dates. Follow me on Twitter, Insta, TikTok, at Judy Gold, JAWDYGOLD. I'm recording this a few days before we air, and I am thinking about everyone in the Ukraine. I hope we can have peace at some point in this world. Boy, does it suck. So anyway, we went from pandemic to war, and I think everything's going great. So take care of yourself. Keep laughing. You gotta laugh. Otherwise, life is not worth living. And I can't thank you enough for listening. I love you. If anyone's listening right now, I fucking love you for staying on. I mean, you have to listen to me and, my annoying voice for an hour or whatever it is. And then you stay on to listen to the rest of the shit. I mean, you're the best. So thank you all for your love and support. I hope you enjoy. I'm so excited. Next week is part 2 of Kill Me Now with Sharon Gless as my guest. And it was such an honor. I was so excited, as you can tell. So thank you all for listening. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And as we always say, so long.